Don't you just love that music? That's Paul Toby. He was playing the piano. I met him at a conference. Really nice guy. Anyways, welcome to the show, Live with Linda, where we've got myself, Gary Robillard, and Dr. Linda Codner, and we've got a really good, one of my favorite actually topics today. We're gonna be talking about Christmas treats, and so there's a lot of Linda. I'm gonna get you to start off on the Christmas treats bandwagon here. We all like Christmas treats. We were raised having Christmas treats. Our grandmother, our mother, cookies, tarts, pies, every kind of baked good. Even remember those? Do you remember those fruit cakes? My kids didn't like them. I liked them because my grandmother and my mom used to make those fruit cakes. Anyways.
Oh, well, I got to interject there because one of my patients solved that problem. He starts in September, bakes it then, and then pours every week rum over top of this so that it's just totally saturated. And he says, all the people love that one.
I bet they do.
Even though they didn't like fruit and nut cake before.
Well, they're getting something out of it. That's right. All right. Well, let's get this. Let's welcome everyone, and we're going to get started. If, as we're going through, you've got any comments, go ahead and put them in the questions there. Ask your questions away, because I know I've got a ton of them when it comes to baking. What I should have now for those younger people that don't have any health issues. You can have these treats, and you can kind of go to town for the little Christmas break there. But for the rest of us who have a few health challenges. We got to be careful. So, Linda, I'm going to get you to start off and tell us, Christmas baking in general. What can we have? What can't we have, or shouldn't have?
I don't want to put any cap on that. This is a special time of year, and I think celebrations, Christmas. There's lots of different occasions that we should and have participate and have what we like to have. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I think where it goes off the rails is when you have half the cake for yourself, or you eat half of the dozens of cookies that you made yourself. And this is where the problem lies. Everyone should be able to tolerate a couple.
Yeah.
That's my theory, and I'm sticking to it. So if you've got problems with that, there's bigger issues, and we'll go into that.
And let's get into that, because I used to be that guy. Like pumpkin pie. I'm sorry. I could eat a whole pumpkin pie myself. Seriously, one sitting. I just love pumpkin pie. But now, because of my diabetes, the fear of blood sugar skyrocketing, right, keeps me in check. What about those who don't have that don't have that thing that keeps them into check? How do you hold back?
Yeah. So does that enter the world of cravings?
Good point.
So,
or is it one of those things that they're just treats and you want to just binge eat? It's like binge watching a show on Netflix, right? Is it like that, or is it? How does that work, Linda?
It's like the potato chip phenomena. Oh. You can never have one potato chip. Or some of my favorite people have pets that are cats. How can you just have one cat? So you go down that pathway. I think the solution to that, and it's whether you stick to it or not, is you put two on a plate. You put a bowl of potato chips, and you don't sit there with the whole bag. That is sort of a good starting place, and don't be starving.
Yeah.
Like maybe have some real food, and then that will also help you. If you're diabetic, or if you have borderline blood sugar issues and you want to have some treats, well, we know that fat in our stomach will slow the absorption of the sugar down. So therefore you don't get a huge spike. Even when you're eating fruit, a healthier treat it's always better to, maybe if you can tolerate and aren't allergic to nuts, because this program could cross over with a lot of things like
Mm-hmm.
the cravings, allergies, and sensitivities. But people don't extend that discussion into, how did I get that way? And one way of getting there is by overeating those foods, those very foods that we like. Too much sugar, too much flour.
Right.
You don't have to just have great tasting cookies that are made only in flour, in wheat flour. You can go off the rails with eating things with spelt flour too.
Mm. So then maybe that's a good topic for the New Year, is to actually talk about food in general, because it really is. I mean, part of air, water, and food. These are the things that kind of, from a health standpoint, yeah, we take supplements and stuff, but that's a good topic. But we're gonna focus on treats here, and we're gonna cross over, like you said, into some of that area. Um, but it's you're right. It's a matter of holding back, and for some of us at this time of the year, it's like, yeah, I want a bag of chips, but I don't want any bag of chips. I want to get the Costco extra large, right, bag of chips, right? So we kind of overdo it, and you're right. It's a matter of holding back, and that's hard.
Yes, and once we've cracked that larger bag, it's sitting there beckoning us. Just like before we got started, you said, well, I know I baked like 3 dozen. I can't just have two. So where are those 3 dozen hiding out? I'm going to find them come
Here,
hell or high
here I
water.
am. Here I am.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about, so is it only sugar that people are beckoned by, or what do you think of that? Is it just the sweet taste? Because I have lots of people that will tell me it's not just sweets, it's also salt.
Yeah, yeah. It's for me. I like the chips. I like the crunch of the chips. So I do like chips, but again, I hold back on that. But I like baked goods too. But I typically don't overdo it. But here's my problem: if they're sitting on the counter, which happens at Christmas time, right? You have baked goods out, especially when the family comes over. Walking by the baked goods, like it's like, I don't even know how to explain how hard it is to walk by that plate and not. And every time, because before I got diabetes, it was every time I walked by, okay, I'll just have one more. Oh, yeah, okay, just have one more. And then next thing you know, the plate's gone and somebody loaded the plate up again. And it's like, oh, geez. So I don't know what it is, Linda. I don't know why I crave chocolate now like I never used to.
Well, are you hungry?
Yeah.
I have a little bit of feedback going on too. I'm not sure if other people are hearing the feedback,
I don't
but
hear it, but
my
hopefully not.
apologies.
Yeah. We'll get what we'll do is we'll get Linda with a proper mic, so that she's not running off her earbuds and stuff like that. If there's any feedback, so if there's any feedback, could somebody comment if there's feedback on Linda's, just so we know, just so we know.
Nothing
And if
so
not,
far.
that's
Then we're
okay.
all right. We'll just have to see how that works out. We'll have to do a test section. But baked goods. So the issues there are gluten.
Okay.
Um,
Is that a bad
that's
thing?
Well, a lot of
Is
people are sensitive to gluten, and
okay.
they feel that they have to seek out gluten-free baked goods at this time of year, or they look for recipes that are going to compensate. And I'm sorry, but if I want my grandmother's famous chocolate brownies, guess what? They're not gluten-free, and it's a work in progress, trying to find some other way of producing the same taste, the same mouthfeel that her baking recipe actually produced. So that's
How
when
do
I
you know
said,
if you
hey,
if
have it.
how do you know if you have a gluten intolerance? First of all, how do you know? Is there a test for that, or
Yes, there are some tests. You can do a general food sensitivity test, and through blood, that will pop up a gluten sensitivity. It's not as accurate as doing like a 23andMe genetical one.
Oh, will that
You
actually tell you if you got that?
you can actually have the genome assessed to see if you've have a I call a legitimate gluten sensitivity. I believe that gluten sensitivity arrives over time for just the same reason we've got the wrong microbiome that includes a virome as well of viruses. And over time, it's going to affect the little tiny inner walls of the small intestine. Like, so the wall of the intestine shifts, the microvilli become damaged, and gluten seems to pronounce what they call leaky gut syndrome, and they get gas, bloating, skin reactions, headaches, any of those symptoms on a regular basis. So the question becomes, do I continue to avoid certain foods, or am I the problem?
Mm.
Is it my lining of my digestive tract that's shifted? And how can I heal that so that I can tolerate one or two of grandma's famous chocolate brownies at Christmas time? I mean, that should be the goal, right?
Right. Sure. Sure. So let me ask you. So if you figured out, go through and figure out if you've got a gluten intolerance, what kind of flours would be of preference? So breads, baked goods that have flours. What should you like? Is there a best practice there for what you should or shouldn't have?
I think what there's a sliding scale here that we need to look at. So while we're transitioning away from baked or flour goods on a regular basis, so we want to aim for whole grains in our diet
So
as opposed to
what would be
flour products.
okay, so whole grains. Can you elaborate on that so we understand what that means? Because I've heard that a lot. Oh, have whole grains. Well, okay, what does that mean? Go out in the field, start chomping away, or I don't understand what that really means because I've heard different variations of what that means. Whole grains versus flours. In my understanding, you've got these whole grains that are munched down into a flour, but you can't make bread out of seeds without some sort of
Correct.
flour, right? Some sort of
Yes.
binding thing.
So over the years, I learned to tell people to avoid flour.
Okay. Period. Any kind of flour. Anything that's okay. So how do you have baked goods without flour? Or some sort of flour, whether it's spelt flour, rye flour. So you're saying don't eat
Zero
them.
flour.
Huh?
Zero flour.
Yeah. See, and I don't use any flour. I don't use any flour. I use almond flour, which has the word flour in it, but it's not a grain flour. It's a nut flour. I guess a
Yes.
nut flour. Yeah. So that's what I use. But so we should avoid all of that. That limits what we can bake, then, doesn't it? For Christmas.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Then that's the continuum I was talking about. So you wanted to know about whole grains. Well, if the grain is still visible in the original form, like, do you see rice? Do you see oats? Do you see quinoa? Then you know it's in its whole form.
Okay. Like steel
If
cut
you,
oats would that still be classified as a whole grain? But when you
yes.
get that flattened one, those quick oats where they're flattened, that would be processed.
No, that's whole grain as well.
Oh, it is. Okay,
It,
good to know.
it's not been ground up into flour. The reason being is that flour products quickly process to sugar.
Okay.
So you mentioned earlier about you're using maybe an almond flour base to making some squares, and in the email I sent out with the Clayton's yummy non-faux lemon and cranberry squares, you could instead use your almond flour crust base, avoiding the wheat,
Mm-hmm.
and see how that turns out. But notice that it's still a carrier of all the yummy, sugary stuff and fruit baked on top.
Right.
And so therefore you've eliminated the the glutinous problem, but
Right.
you're still adding and doing sugar, which contributes to this problem I was saying about the microvilli inside the small intestine lining.
Right.
So you're still in trouble
Yeah.
as far as exasperating symptoms like bloating, gas, uncomfortableness that goes along with that. And what you want to do is heal yourself enough to tolerate small amounts. And the other thing is, human beings, we start to, oh, we got away with it today. I feel pretty good. I had 3 squares and half a pumpkin pie, and now tomorrow I'm going to do that again.
Yeah, until I feel really bad, until like I feel so bad that okay, I really have to stop now. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So that's kind of the path of things. So the whole gluten issue is that, and processed foods like things that we buy at the supermarket are going to try to make up for that different type of flour, and they will often put in not the best quality fats and increase the sugar just so
Mm,
you still enjoy the product. I think I was mentioning to you about the fellow that has the catering business, and he he says he talks to his chef about gluten-free products and dairy-free products, and coming up with recipes where they taste excellent, but people are going to balk at the extra price required to provide those types of foods.
yeah.
So as soon as they hear it's going to be 3 times the price to serve that gravy or serve this or type of dessert, then all of a sudden he noticed that people back down and say, well, maybe it'll be okay if we have that gluten product. So what's that all about? It means they're not really that sensitive.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what he concludes in his business.
Yeah, for me at Christmas time, and I mean, we've all had struggles with COVID and getting together and stuff like that. But in the past, I've had to get creative. Like, okay, we talk about treats, but even Christmas dinner, it's like, okay, I can't have potatoes. Well, crap, that's part of Christmas dinner, potatoes. So I had to get creative and have, like a squash with cauliflower and mix it up, and it's not bad, but it's a faux potato product, right? Let's be serious. And it's not the real thing. It's like faux leather. It's just not the real thing. You can tell. I mean, it doesn't taste right, but it's like, okay, it fills me up. The turkey is the I eat cranberries. I can't even have cranberries because they're the amount that I like to have. It's got a lot of sugar in it. So you have to get creative. You have to figure out. You have to pick your battles, I guess, is really
So
what we're.
let's talk about the way of the world. And the other education I got from this fellow is he said he could take me overseas, and I don't want to really name where, but he says I could give you a full meal, like right from appetizers to dinner, and not one item will be real food. It
Really?
will be all chemicals. And he said you will not know by the look, texture, or taste.
And it's all
And I just went,
chemicals.
oh my God, I hope that never comes, but that
Wow.
is a reality.
Wow.
Hmm.
I remember
Hmm.
I remember sitting in a meeting one time, and we were planning this dinner, this church dinner, and the one guy on the committee says, "Hey, well, we'll just go get one of those." And I'm just going to use the word faux turkeys because, yeah. And I said, well, how do they put that together? Oh, they glue the meat together. I'm going, what? You're going to glue the meat together? I'm not having that. We got to have the real thing. And I was just like, oh my God. That was my first little taste that there's stuff out there that, well, I'm not going to eat. And when we were kids, what do you remember Prem?
Yes,
Spam? Prem?
spam.
Yeah.
It's
We
still
thought
out
that was
there.
the greatest thing, right?
Yeah, and see, that's the thing. We wonder how our guts have arrived at not being able to tolerate things.
Yeah.
And yet here we are overloaded or potentially inundated with a lot of non-food items, chemicals, spray-ons, glyphosate in our food
What's a
chain is
glyphosate?
also That's the Roundup or weed killer. They
Oh,
use
right.
that unfortunately, they use that on a lot of our Alberta potatoes to harvest them. They kill off the green tops with that so that they can easily dig them up. And
Hmm.
it's going to go into the potato,
Yeah.
since you were mentioning potatoes. So unfortunately, their shortcut processes to make harvesting is not in our favor.
No.
And so this builds up
Yeah.
in our
Well,
systems.
I actually had a client. I don't. They're not our client any longer. But I had a client that all they did. They were out of Manitoba, or Saskatchewan, and all they did is provided chemicals to farmers for all of their grain products. And this stuff was nasty. I did a little research on it and was like, "You're serious? We're eating this garbage?" I mean, so
Yeah,
right away I started, okay, where's all the organic flour? And this was before diabetes, but I just couldn't believe the stuff that is in that. And then I happened to stumble on. It was in Kensington in Calgary here. I stumbled into a meeting. I went into the wrong room is what happened. And they were talking about this issue, people that were fighting against it. Anyways, there's stuff that we just don't know about. And so what you said about the chemical based foods that you'd never know the difference, they're out there. I believe that.
absolutely. So, it was tricky and interesting to listen to, because he would certainly be looking at products that he could quickly, in the past, provide to a convention of, say, 300, 400 people.
Right.
So a lot of things are pre-made or pre-manufactured, and they're just sort of putting it together in the back room to quickly serve. So I guess he explores every end of the spectrum.
Yeah. Interesting.
And so moderation is kind of the message I'd like to get across today when you're looking at your Christmas goodies and treats. And um, to go to a faux Christmas cookie and people kind of turning up their noses and going, well, this doesn't taste quite so great. I agree, and I tend to encourage people just to stick to their family traditions. If anyone out there has any wonderful recipes that they swear up and down they didn't have to double the sugar to make it taste better, please send them on to me, and I'll share them with people, because we're always looking for new recipes.
Oh yeah.
And I think that also goes along with dairy, and cheeses. And this fellow called it faux leather as faux cheese, because he says there's nothing dairy about it.
Yeah.
Um, they should learn to call them different names, not
Yeah.
cheese.
Yeah.
So I believe there's a peanut butter out there too that's made out of peas, for instance. But they
Mm.
still, instead of us changing and learning to moderate the way we eat, instead of like, well, I still want to eat like this, like vegetarian ginger beef. But there's no beef in it,
Yeah.
but it looks like and it tastes like ginger beef. So why don't we just shift into eating vegetarian and see the vegetables for what they are, and
Right. And not try to make them into
recycle?
something they're not. So
That's
that
the
so that
learn.
would go along with the veggie burger then, right? That would be in the same category?
Yeah, and I think that's why they tend to like to call them patties, like a veggie
Patties.
patty.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. For those who got offended by what I just said about calling them burgers, you're right. They are not. You have a real burger. It doesn't taste the same as those patties. I totally agree.
So let's touch on the top 5 food allergens that people typically have to encounter and deal with over the Christmas season. And
Before you
that
do
is the
that,
food. Okay, okay.
I want to
Yeah.
ask chocolate.
Oh, geez.
Is it a good thing? I've
Yeah, of
heard.
course.
Okay.
But
But
did you know that those chocolate fountains? One year I was going to put a chocolate fountain together, with it pouring over the sides, and you take your little fondue fork with whatever on it and dip it
yep.
in. You have to dilute probably a chocolate that already is 50% oil with another
I
50%
know.
of oil. Like
Yeah.
that is just so disgusting.
My
I
wife
just
bought one of those, and when I found out that we had to, I just like, I'm not eating that. Once I found out she was like, yeah, we're going to throw another gallon of oil in here just to dilute the thing. Otherwise, it can't go through the fountain. It's like, yeah, I'm not eating that. You guys can go ahead. I'm not touching it. Yeah. I think we gave it away or it's stuck somewhere in some storage thing. I don't know where it is. I think we used it twice or they used it
isn't
twice because I didn't partake. That was just too
it,
nasty. I
it's
might as well
fun,
just
isn't
dipped
it?
it in the oil, sprinkle a little
I don't,
chocolate on it. So chocolate is now there's chocolate that is we've got the what do they call it? The chocolate they have on chocolate bars, which is kind of a lighter chocolate, and then you've got the dark chocolate. Should a person be leaning more to the dark chocolate items?
I think some people just don't like dark chocolate. They're going to want milk chocolate, as they call it. And uh,
Milk chocolate, that's what it was.
if you want to train yourself to start to like dark chocolate, it's going to maybe take you 35 times before you start to broaden your palate to enjoy the
Yeah.
little bit of more bitter taste that dark chocolate affords as opposed to the milk chocolate.
And I've
Yeah.
done that. I've actually moved from the milk chocolate to the dark chocolate, and I have I think 82% chocolate with a little bit of vanilla in it. I like it. I actually prefer it now, and I don't eat as much. When I had the milk chocolate, it's like I wanted more of it, but as I've gotten moved over to dark chocolate, I don't need as much.
Right. And that also goes for, hot chocolate is a very popular drink at
Hmm.
this time of year. So, do we want the Nestle's Quick or the syrup that looks and maybe tastes like what we think chocolate's supposed to taste like? My favorite hot chocolate powder is Camino, and I like it because you can get it with chili pepper in it, so it's got a little bit of a bite and spicy taste to it. And do I mix it with milk as opposed to hot water? Yes, I do, because I know I can tolerate an amount of dairy now and then.
Right,
I,
right.
I don't have a steady diet of dairy, and I've also cultured the taste for goat cheese as
Mm.
opposed to just cow's cheese. So that's lovely on crackers and all kinds of fixings as opposed to just a cow's cheese for this coming up time of year
Yeah, it's just
as
getting
little
used to stuff, isn't it?
appetizers.
Yeah, it's just getting used to certain things. Yeah, and hot
Yeah.
chocolate. Yeah, I like hot chocolate, and I use the good chocolate. I don't get and then I mix it with stevia. I put stevia in there to give it that sugar, and then I add some mushroom to it. I add some reishi and some lion's mane to it, a little bit of that to it, and then I'll put maybe 2/3 hot water, and then the last part of it I'll put cashew milk and it
Hmm.
tastes pretty darn good. I think, but maybe it's I've gotten used to it too. But I quite like it. But find what
Yeah,
works for you,
absolutely.
right?
Yeah, and there's options to sugar, but you still have to keep it low. Just
Hmm.
because you're eating an option to brown sugar or white sugar, it doesn't mean you get to put the gobs of honey in there or maple
Yeah,
syrup or guava or stevia. Any of those
yeah,
have to keep it still low.
yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So your top five things you were going to mention. Do you want to list
Oh,
those out?
it wasn't.
Our
It's
top
just these are the top five food allergens that people have to
allergens.
be cognizant of people this time of year. Citrus, even though those oranges are lovely from overseas, I'm not sure about the organic level of those, but certainly keeping those under wraps. You don't want to eat 6 or 12 of them in a day. But citrus,
Was that you I was talking to about those oranges across the
I hope
pond there?
so. Who else would
I
you
was
been
talking to
talking
somebody
to?
that actually, and I don't know if it was you or who it was, but it wasn't that like it was within a week or so. And I wouldn't touch one of those for nothing. California ones I'd eat, but anything over in the China area, Oranges, uh, pretty nasty conditions that they grow those in, and there's no
Yeah.
regulation. So personally, just from a health benefit, I wouldn't touch those. But the little California mandarin oranges, they're great. I've had those, and they're really good. And you don't have to worry about that because there's regulations around that.
Yes, yes. Everything in moderation. So I thought I'd mention citrus. I already mentioned a little bit about gluten or wheat. Um, the other thing we'd want to take a look at is dairy. And then there's also eggs. People can be sensitive to eggs
Hmm.
and corn
Eggs.
as
Now, I
often.
didn't know that you could have a sensitivity to eggs. That's one I hadn't heard. Interesting.
Yeah. And soy. Those are the top food allergens. So being mindful of people that are sensitive to those, but hopefully they're going to start to get some help and become desensitized by becoming healthier. And
Cool.
there's that feedback.
There you go. All right. Well, any questions out there, folks? We are at the bottom of the hour, and just see if they have any questions with regards to what we've covered today. Any of your favorite treats that you want to share? By all means, throw them in the comments. We'd love to find out more. I'm always looking for recipes that I can have that are, I wouldn't say keto, but yeah, they lean more into the keto side where they got the low carbs and low sugar. And, yes, they're higher fat usually, but if you're eating good fats, um, the
Probably a better idea.
yeah,
Yeah.
like I know when we do these little muffins up every once in a while, we use olive oil to bake with it, and so you're getting a decent an oil that you're putting in. But
Well, I'll have to talk to you about that olive oil baking scenario on another
oh,
time.
don't take my muffins away.
Thanks, Gary. It
All
was
right,
always
guys.
fun.
Thanks for showing up today. Hope you've enjoyed this. Hope you've gained something out of this. Linda's given us some really good tips and ideas. And moderation. That's probably the big takeaway for me is moderation. Go for the gusto, but moderation. Moderation. All right. Well, have yourself a great week, and we'll talk to you next Friday. And keep safe.
Saturday,
Yep.
Saturday,
Next Saturday.
Saturday,
What did I say?
Friday.
Oh, I meant Saturday. Sorry, guys. Next Saturday, 11 o'clock, Mountain Standard Time. Bye for now.